myself, Shailaja. I am employee of Western Khandesh Billeseva Mandals Eklave Vidyalaya, Nandurbar. Today I am going to teach lesson number 2 of 10th standard, that is life processes in living organisms part 1. So students, you all know that living organisms and their food requirements. You all know that without food, not a single living organism can survive, including human being. We all are dependent on plants as well as animals for our food requirement. We all are heterotrophs, and autotrophs are plants. Plants can synthesize their own food material by the process of photosynthesis. This process is the life-sustaining process, and human being is also dependent on these green plants. When the plants are converting solar energy into chemical energy in food, we are eating these vegetables, fruits and variety of grains, cereals from plants. Our energy requirement is fulfilled by these green plants called autotrophs, and this energy is useful for carrying out our life processes. What are life processes then? You all know that our body is made up of various organs and organ systems. So in our body we have respiratory system, we have circulatory, excretory, reproductive and many more systems are present in our body. These systems are working with the help of our internal as well as external organs of our body, and these organs are working in coordination with each other. So these organs are working hand in hand. Their interdependence is also there, and these are working due to the energy provided by our food. Students, we all know that whatever food we are eating in the form of carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins and minerals, all these things are obtained from the food. It may be vegetarian food or non-vegetarian food. We get all these different constituents in our diet, and this is called a balanced diet. This diet, when it is taken by us, the food which is in the form of complex substances gets converted into the simpler substances. And we know that carbohydrates are the main source of energy in our body. From 1 gram of carbohydrate, we get 4 kilocalories of energy. Dear students, today we will see how this energy conversion takes place from the food, means whatever living organisms are eating, and how the energy is produced from this food material. Students, we know that respiration is a most important, it's a very crucial process and life sustaining process. So respiration is nothing but taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide. It is the simplest definition of respiration. But the respiration occurs at 2 levels. One is at the body level and second is at the cellular level. So what is meant by body level of respiration? It is also called as external respiration, in which we are taking in oxygenated air and giving out carbon dioxide rich air outside the body. This is simple, that is inhaling oxygen and exhaling carbon dioxide is called as body respiration. The second type of respiration is called as cellular respiration. The respiration which takes place at the level of cell internally is called as cellular respiration. This cellular respiration is of again two types. One is called as aerobic respiration and second is called as anaerobic respiration. What do you mean by aerobic respiration then? The respiration which occurs in presence of oxygen is called as aerobic respiration, and the respiration which takes place in absence of oxygen is called as anaerobic respiration. Students, we are going to study what is meant by aerobic respiration in human brain. We all know that aerobic respiration takes place in presence of oxygen, and in our body, whatever food we are taking in the form of carbohydrates, when carbohydrates are broken down, they are converted into the simple sugars. Glucose, which is produced, is oxidized in 3 steps. So, what is the formula of glucose? It is C6H12O6, means it has 6 atoms of carbon, 12 atoms of hydrogen and 6 atoms of oxygen. So C6H12O6 is the formula of molecular formula of glucose. This glucose, when oxidation of this glucose takes place in our body, mitochondria are involved in this process. Mitochondria is also called as powerhouse of our cell. What do you mean by powerhouse of cell? Mitochondria are oxidizing the food, whatever enters in the cell, and thereby it produces ATP molecules. ATP molecules are also called as energy currency of a cell. Adenosine triphosphate is an energy-rich compound. By breaking of phosphate bonds, this energy is liberated in our body. So, we are going to study how this oxidation of glucose takes place. There are 3 steps of glucose oxidation. The first step is called as glycolysis. The second step is called as TCA cycle, that is Tri-Carboxylic acid cycle. The third one is electron transfer chain reaction. Students, we will study all these 3 steps one by one. The first one is glycolysis. What is meant by glycolysis? In board exams, the question is asked on this glycolysis. You all know that glucose molecule, when it enters in the cell, this glucose molecule is oxidized into 2 molecules of each, that is pyruvic acid, ATP, NADH2, that is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, and water. This glycolysis takes place in cytoplasmic part of the cell. Here, whatever pyruvic acid molecules, 2 molecules of pyruvic acid, they are converted into acetyl coenzyme A. So, pyruvic acid gets converted into acetyl coenzyme A, and 2 molecules of NADH2 and 2 molecules of carbon dioxide are released at the end of this reaction. So, we have studied that glycolysis occurs in cytoplasm. Here in glycolysis, glucose molecule is oxidized into two molecules of each pyruvic acid, ATP molecule, NADH2. What is the full form of NADH2? Nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide and water molecules. Whatever pyruvic acid molecules means two molecules of pyruvic acid get converted into acetyl coenzyme A, and two molecules of NADH2, two molecules of carbon dioxide are also released at the end of this glycolysis. The second step is Tri-Carboxylic acid cycle. So, Tri-Carboxylic acid cycle, TCA, is also called as Krebs cycle also, and whatever acetyl coenzyme A molecules are produced, this acetyl coenzyme A is oxidized completely into carbon dioxide, water, NADH2 and FADH2. So what is FADH2? It is flavin adenine dinucleotide. So students, this is tricarboxylic acid cycle. Why it is called as cycle? Because here the cyclic way of transformation is taking place. Acetyl part of acetyl coenzyme is completely oxidized, and at the end of this TCA cycle, carbon dioxide, water molecules, NADH2 and FADH2 are produced. This takes place inside the mitochondria. Next is the third phase is called as electron transfer chain reaction. You all know that electron transfer chain reaction, in this reaction, three molecules of ATP are obtained from NADH2. This NADH2 and FADH2, which are produced in TCA cycle, are used in electron transfer chain reaction. So, from NADH2, how many molecules of ATP are obtained? There are three molecules of ATP are obtained from nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, and two molecules of ATP are obtained from flavin adenine dinucleotide. At the end of this process, even ATP molecules and water are also formed. This reaction takes place in the mitochondria, and in this mitochondria, you all know mitochondria is the powerhouse of cell. Mitochondria is a membrane-bound cell organelle. It has one outer membrane and inner is called as the inner membrane. This inner membrane is folded into cristae. Single is called as crista and many, these are the foldings, so that the inner surface area of mitochondria is increased, and this inner membrane which is folded is called as cristae. On this cristae, F1 molecules are present, and this mitochondrial matter, the mitochondrial matter is the fluid part, and this mitochondrial matter is helping in the conversion of this NADH2 into NADH plus CO2. Again NADH plus CO2 is reutilized and it is converted into the FADH2. So here you will see that NADH2 gives 3 molecules of ATP and FADH2 gives 2 molecules of ATP. So ATP, whatever molecules of ATP are liberated, these are stored in the cell, and whenever energy is required by the cell, these ATP molecules, adenosine the use of these ATP molecules? We all know there are 3 phosphate bonds are present in ATP molecules. How is the structure of ATP? Short note can be asked on this ATP molecules. ATP is having one part that is called as the adenine. Pentose sugar is also present in this ATP, and this pentose sugar is connected to 3 phosphate bonds. Whenever phosphate bond is broken, energy is liberated. So when one phosphate bond is broken, ATP gets converted into ADP. So what is the full form of ADP? Adenosine dinucleotide. Means when one phosphate bond is broken, ATP is converted into ADP molecule, and the inorganic phosphate is just separated from that. And even when the ADP, one more phosphate bond is broken, this ADP is converted into AMP, that is adenosine monophosphate. Students, we all know that this energy, whenever the phosphate bonds are broken, energy is liberated in the cell, and this energy is utilized for the metabolic processes in the living organisms. So dear students, we have studied today about the ATP molecules, how they are generated. We have studied about the living organisms and energy production, and today we have studied about the aerobic respiration in living organisms. When carbohydrates are broken down into simpler substances, glucose molecule is oxidized and we get energy. When fats are used, they are converted into fatty acids, and these fatty acids are useful for energy production. When proteins are used, when there is deficiency of, or when there is crisis of energy in our body, at that time during fasting conditions, or when food is not available, at that time the fats are also used and proteins are used for energy production in our body. Here we have studied how energy is generated in our body. Thank you.